Yeah, okay, Brian. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. My name's Stevie Donnelly, and I work with the IT Sligo Contract Research Unit. So IT Sligo is an institute of technology in the northwest of Ireland, and we act as mentors on the Sustainable Energy Communities programme in Ireland. And that programme is run by the body called the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about how we go about engaging the various communities. Just a little bit about ourselves. So we're part of the research office of IT Sligo. We offer dedicated outreach, research, development and innovation support to regional enterprises, communities, individuals and the public sector. So you can see there the different bodies that we work with. And the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland is the cog there on the top right of the image. So basically, Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, they run a programme whereby they encourage different communities to join this network, this Sustainable Energy Community Network. And at the moment, there's about 360 SECs, Sustainable Energy Communities, in Ireland, and that number is growing all the time. What the Contract Research Unit does, or IT Sligo, we mentor, we help communities in the border region of Ireland and the west of Ireland. So they've split the country up into 4 separate areas, and we basically handle a quarter of the area. So the groups we deal with are very different. You have small communities that might, there might be a very small rural village, right down to large business users, say in Sligo town or in Castlebar. And then we work with some of the islands as well off the coast of Mayo, Galway and Donegal. And so as you can imagine, a lot of these communities are at different stages. Some of them are just joining the network. Some of them existed before this SEC network even started. So there's all different levels. So we have these levels called learn, plan and do. And I suppose the stage we're talking about today when it comes to community engagement is kind of that learn stage. But also obviously community engagement, you're trying to get people to join your community and express an interest in reducing their energy consumption. And then you're trying to make them part of the planning process. And then eventually, obviously, the idea is that once you go through those stages, that your community is then ready to start doing energy efficiency projects. And just this year, there's now a really good opportunity for communities in Ireland to take part in the new Renewable Electricity Support Scheme, which is basically how communities can gain ownership of large-scale wind farms or solar farms. I'm well aware that this is going on already across Europe in countries such as Denmark and Germany. Really in Ireland, this is kind of the first year of it. Previous to this, it would have happened piecemeal, and there just would have been a small percentage that a large-scale renewable developer would have given to the local community. Whereas now the new scheme, this Renewable Electricity Support Scheme, has some of the key criteria to have a successful project is that you have to include the community where the project's going to be. So it's a very exciting time for the SEC network, and I'm going to talk you through now about the different competencies we have. So SEAI, the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, they have this idea that there's 7 core competencies required for a successful renewable energy project or energy efficiency project. And so I'll just go through them there. The first one is energy champion, or what we call community engagement or partnerships and engagement. And we've integrated planning, strategic financing, energy efficiency, renewable energy, sustainable transport, and then smart energy and smart grid. So these are the different strands of the SEC programme. What I'm talking about today is the energy champion strand, or the energy champion community engagement core competency. Okay. So when we're dealing with the different communities, as I said, they can be very diverse. It could be a large urban town or a small rural village. We like to get in there and find out, is there already a pre-existing committee, such as a local community development association, a local sports club, there might be a business network like a chamber of commerce. So we like to find out what stage are you at, and try and use the structures that are already in place within the community, rather than trying to set up something entirely new, because it can be difficult to get people that are interested to volunteer more of their time if they're already involved in something. So try and make it a subgroup of something that already exists. And in this approach, we like to obviously credit union managers, local businesses, again GAA or sports clubs, local school principals, and then key to this are first movers, the people within communities that have already maybe made their house very energy efficient. They might have installed a heat pump, they might even have a passive house. They're good people to have involved because they have first-hand experience about the benefits of energy efficiency and renewable energy. So they're able to share that knowledge with more people in the community. Sometimes they don't have a vehicle to do that, whereas if you have a sustainable energy community, or if you have a community engagement platform within your community, then these first movers can use that to showcase the benefits. So what happens is when you join the sustainable energy community in Ireland, you go through a number of steps. You set up a community charter, which is basically a one-page vision statement. You get local members of the community to sign that, and then you carry out a couple of small applications which we help communities with, and ultimately you're looking for funding to carry out an energy master plan for your area. So obviously I'm aware that this scheme doesn't operate in every country in Europe, but in Ireland what we tell communities to do is they can go to their local business or their credit union or their local sports club, and they can say, look, we can get you a free energy audit of your facility or of your building if you join the SEC. So it's a bit, you shouldn't have to encourage people like that, but it often works, and it gets people talking about it and gets people in the same room. And so you're building your community all the time. And then just the last point there is about how different communities should reach out to other communities. So you could have a community in the west of Ireland that's actually quite similar to a community down in the south of Ireland, and they may not necessarily know each other exists. So we facilitate that because there's an SEC network map, and we put like-minded sustainable energy communities in touch with each other to learn how they went through their journey. So again, this is more around how do you actually get, the previous slide was about how you get those core members involved, the steering committee. This slide is more about how you involve the wider community, and just some of the ideas. None of these are rocket science or anything. So obviously the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, we get loads of booklets and information that we hand out to people, either in their homes, or we might have a local event where we'll hand them out. And again, you can hold a public meeting, and you can offer some free building energy ratings or home energy audits in order to encourage the community to come along. Also, you can have a sort of a meet the expert workshop, whereby you might bring along, a solar panel installer, a heat pump installer, and another tradesman or contractor that does installation, and bring them along. Let people come along to the event, and they can ask questions about it. And something that we is gaining more popularity in Ireland is how to switch your energy supplier, how to switch your electricity or gas supplier. And it's just a quick way of saving money. In Ireland, you can save up to like €300 per year if you switch supplier every year. So there's still a lot of people that aren't aware of that. So it's a good way of getting people in. And again, this is something as a mentor we go in and help communities with. Next, there is the obvious one, using your social media and advertising in local venues or newspapers and parish newsletters. So these can work well because people want to be kept up to date with what's happening in their locality. So it's good to include information there around the climate transition and what they can do in relation to energy. Again, talking to your friends and family about it, asking your mentor for advice, that's us. And then Castlevania SEC is just an example of a sustainable energy community based in Monaghan in Ireland, and they ran an excellent energy show. And there's a little bit of detail. I think I have a link at the end of this set of slides about how they ran the energy show, or a bit of information about it. And it was just a really good example of a community having a good team, putting in a lot of effort, getting lots of people to come along to the energy show. And it's a relatively small village in Ireland, and they managed to get about 300 people to come along, which is just fantastic. So it's a good idea. So one of the key things when a community is looking to maybe set up a sustainable energy community, and by sustainable energy community, I mean it could be anything. It could just be a community saying we want to start doing energy efficiency projects on our homes, or there might be a number of businesses saying, oh, we should work together to change all our lights to LEDs. It could be anything, but the term we use in Ireland now is sustainable energy community. So if your local community wants to set up a sustainable energy community, it's really good if they're aware of all the other initiatives that are going on around environmental topics or water topics. So this here is just an example of the Sligo Environmental Network, and basically they kind of keep tabs, or they keep people updated on the different events that are going on in relation to the environment or energy in the Sligo area. So you can see there, the first one is on the 11th of September. So this was like a monthly newsletter that they send out, and this is all the events that were going on in Sligo in the space of a month. And I won't go through them all. I can share the slides with you after, but it's just an example of having an understanding of the other initiatives that are going on in your area before you decide to head off on your own track, and not be aware of what else is going on. And of course, some of these groups here could be committee members for the sustainable energy community that you want to set up. Okay, so there was a piece of research or a research workshop carried out by what's called the Imagining 2050 team in the University of College Cork and the Secretariat of the National Dialogue on Climate Action. That's basically a forum in Ireland to engage the community. Its level of success is yet to be shown, but it exists at the moment, and I suppose it hasn't kicked into place just yet. So there's lots of these initiatives that are happening at the moment, but the Sustainable Energy Community Network is one that's actually funded by SEAI, by the Irish government, to do this. But this workshop that was held in 2019, it's useful because it was a recent enough workshop that was held, and it basically goes into the recommendations and insights into how you leverage different community engagement approaches in relation to climate action. And obviously it's recognised that engagement is a continuum from where you start by creating a general sense of awareness about climate action, to then proper engagement, deeper engagement with the community, and then right up to how citizens are enabled and empowered to do energy efficiency projects and to take part in large-scale renewable energy projects. And again, more closely to Ireland, we have the Climate Action Plan, which was released last July, so it's almost a year old. And then what I spoke about at the start, the Renewable Electricity Support Scheme. So you have these policies that are now coming into play. They haven't been fully implemented yet. Again, Brian mentioned at the start, we're good at doing policies in Ireland, but it's when it comes to the implementation of that is really where it's at. So you can't implement it properly unless you have a community or in your locality that is engaged and has an understanding of the different policy mechanisms that are in place. And again, just the second last bullet point there, this workshop pointed to the importance of placing value on the role of intermediaries and partnerships in engaging communities. So I suppose I and my colleagues would be intermediaries between like the Government of Ireland, the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland, and then also the grassroots level, the communities. So we're kind of trying to simplify that message for communities and try and help them to get a bit more organised to take advantage of the various energy grant schemes that are there at the moment. So this workshop is interesting because it identified the determinants and conditions for community engagement in climate action, and they call this exercise the Bridging the Gap. Again, there's links to all these workshops and documents and references at the end of the presentation if you want to find out more. So put simply, this Bridging the Gap exercise, on the left hand side you have community members that are disparate, they're separate, they're thinking about things, they're only thinking about their own house, they're not thinking about the community, and they're wondering, what should I do, what grant should I go for, what's the best thing for me to do, should I put insulation in my house, should I put solar panels on my roof, should I do something else? And then obviously at the end of the bridge on the right-hand side, you have a community that's worked well together, understood what the challenge was at the outset. They worked as a group together, and then they were able to deliver a successful project at the end. So in between these two groups are the different determinants of community engagement. So just starting from the left, and I'll go through each of these separately, but just to call them out. Starting from the left, you have visions, champions, drivers, tipping points, policy, research, communication, social practices and behaviour, supports and finance. So when we talk about visions, a vision obviously allows a clear understanding of the trajectory and destination of how a community is going to tackle this transition, and the ability for a community to, what we call, see the other side, and to know where they're going and how they're going to reimagine their future together. And obviously this is the idea of a shared vision for a community rather than acting separately, which has kind of been the case up till relatively recently. It's how the community can act together. And SEAI, through the SEC network, have a good exercise in this called the Community Charter. It's a one-page document that your steering committee of your community can put some bullet points on, basically, identify some things that they'd like to achieve over the next 5 to 10 years. And it's a useful document to bring to those public meetings and talk to people about, and to get them to sign up to it. And they're generally high level. It's just an idea of making people aware. Next, then you have champions, and we kind of spoke about this, the pioneers or the first movers or the early adopters. And obviously you need champions at different levels. You might need a champion who's got a very energy efficient house. Then you might have a small business that's quite good on energy initiatives. And then obviously your local citizens. And a really good example of this is in Denmark. You're probably aware of this guy, Søren Hermansen. He's brilliant. He's from an island in Denmark, and they invented community engagement when it comes to energy, and they've done a whole load of excellent projects. And I'd urge you to look into what Søren Hermansen's done. Then number 3, there are drivers. So we have social factors such as trust and justice, acceptance, perceptions of change, and contingency planning. So the journey, or the climate transition as we call it, is dependent on people wanting to cross and being able to cross, and the idea of battling old thinking. So people need to be involved in not just the solutions, but also deciding what the problem is. And I have an example there about electric vehicles. Electric vehicles, when they first came out, there was a lot of bad press about them, and especially in Ireland, people saying, sure, you can't go anywhere in an electric vehicle, there's not enough power in them, and sure, what's the point of using it? You have coal and gas and peat burning stations providing the electricity, so how green is it? So it's just one of those ideas about the market is trying to come up with a solution, but you're trying to really change how people think about their journey and do that modal shift. Then number 4, tipping points. So change is oftentimes reactive and driven by urgency. A crisis is more imminent for some people or communities and not for others, with the consequence of delaying engagement and creating fractured responses to change. So we're living through a tipping point right now, and we can only hope that we come out, that the climate transition piece can come out stronger, and that we can just hope for that. And then policy, again, this is probably more linked to Irish policy, but I'm sure it's similar in other countries in Europe. So, and there's just a couple of different issues that this group pointed out about policy. So institutional issues such as policy silos, so that's government departments acting by themselves and not seeing the bigger picture. And obviously then disengaged policymakers thinking about other stuff rather than climate action. Policy approach issues, such as balancing punitive measures with other supportive measures and clear leadership. So in terms of clear leadership, at the moment we have we have a government in Ireland, but they're not the elected government. So there's lots of different parties trying to figure out about forming a government, and it's obviously a difficult time now because of COVID-19. But if you don't have clear leadership, then it's very hard to have clear policies and clear direction, especially when it comes to climate transition. And then that idea of balancing punitive measures with other supportive measures, that's definitely one that's at the heart of rural Ireland. Like that, people are being encouraged to buy electric vehicles, So that's kind of like, and there's grants available for that. So that's kind of the carrot for the community or citizens to do that. And then on the other side, what we had recently was the introduction of the carbon tax, which was an increase in the already existing carbon tax. But the plan is for that to steadily increase right up to 2030. And this is an interesting one because some people, the carbon tax isn't enough at the moment for a person to make a decision to get rid of their diesel vehicle and buy a brand new electric vehicle. That's a very big leap for many people. So it's so that I suppose you could argue that the balance there is not right for certain people. You have to provide the choices. If you're going to bring in punitive measures, you have to provide viable choices for people as well. And then just on prioritisation issues, is climate action a prioritisation? And obviously at the moment, COVID-19 is a prioritisation. Then on research, so the role of research and academia in acknowledging their common goals and act more like a community. So this is the idea of strengthening research impact and having a more engaged approach to research. And a lot of you in this webinar, I suppose, will understand that there's no point in Europe funding research that's not really going to help the wider community. And I know that IT Sligo is at the moment trying to become a university with 2 other institutes of technology in the northwest of Ireland. And one of the criteria there is that they need to be, in order to become a technological university, they need to become more engaged with the community. And especially, it's on a plate for us at the moment with this climate transition. So really, it's how research is creating more of an impact through universities and institutes of technology. Then communication, how the message is delivered and disseminated to communities. So obviously negative, scary and recriminatory messages are not useful and can often be counterproductive. So instead, being objective and consistent and supportive, and especially culturally sensitive, it's important to have those messages. So this is what we call, you can't go into communities playing the blame game if people don't have the choices to change those decisions. Then number 8 there, social practices and behaviour. This is the idea of expanding and developing behavioural change strategies, such as energy consumption and mobility practices. Mobility practices is getting out of your car, using the bus, using the bike, but those options have to be there. So these kind of nudge strategies, you have to be careful that it's not perceived that they are overlooking the structurally and socially constrained manner in which social behaviours and practices are embedded. So if you're trying to nudge people to make small decisions, but at the same time those people are saying, or those communities are saying, actually, we're not taking a look here at the wider societal issue that's at play. We're just we're taking small steps to fix something when we need to take a larger leap in the long run. And then supports, the different supports that are there that are required for communities: awareness, knowledge transfer, appropriate language, technical skills, education at early stage, needs-based and tailored supports, experts-based supports, and a safety net. And by safety net, I mean if a community is entering into an energy efficiency or renewable energy project, that there's a safety net there, that they're not going to lose their money on a stranded investment or something like that. I suppose these supports are what the Sustainable Energy Communities Programme by SEAI are providing at the moment with that 360 SECs in Ireland. And then finally, finance. These are important determinants for supporting climate action. That's obvious. And what is needed for the community to become engaged are new business models and innovative financing methods, how resources are managed, reskilling and training of members of the community, rebranding of the finance that's available. You know, people will readily finance a new kitchen or a new conservatory or something like that, but they might not necessarily think about insulating their house and taking out a loan for that. So it's rebranding that as a home upgrade, and the new opportunities, incentives, the ability to access funds, insurance, and then improved efficiencies. So this is just the Community Energy Hub in the UK. They have a good website. There's a link to the website at the end of the slides. And again, just some of the simple language around a vision for our community, and this can be changed for different communities depending on what they want to do. So I'll just read out what they're suggesting here. If a community wants to start engaging the wider community on a project. So the aim of this project is to develop a community-owned solar PV installation on a community building with part ownership of the installation by the local community group. So that's good, simple language that's used and sort of straight away says to people, okay, I kind of understand what you're doing. And then the next step is to establish how and why you want to engage with the community and what outcomes you want from the engagement plan. So then the aim of the community engagement project is to raise awareness of the project and collect feedback from the community on the plans. So like this, people then feel engaged and part of the project. At the bottom of this slide here is a good paper about community energy business models for solar PV farms in the UK. So it's worth a read if your community is looking at that or if you're interested. Again, just identifying stakeholders. This might seem obvious, but it's important if you're looking at a project that each member is identified and that you don't move forward without ensuring that all of the key stakeholders are involved or have been given an opportunity to become involved. So you have religious groups and community groups, your neighbours and friends and family, your project manager, your local authorities or municipal authorities, your schools and your education institutes, exemplar communities, and there's plenty of exemplar communities around, your business actors and networks, so maybe your Chamber of Commerce, bridging organisations, and in Ireland we have a few of those, Community Finance Ireland and Clown Credo. They offer low rate loans to communities to fund projects. Then government agencies, European and global actors, social media, and then skill facilitators. So again, it's important to understand how each of the groups might be affected by whatever project you're considering, and then you might want to think about using a tailored approach for each group to see if they want to be part of the project. And again, just on the approaches to engagement and communication, just to talk about them a little bit further, obviously local TV and radio campaigns, you will reach a large number of people quickly, but again, there's a cost to this, and does the community have the funds available to do that? Leaflets and flyers can be very useful and can be dropped in people's homes, and the information can be specific to that area. Obviously, newsletters can work well, monthly or bi-monthly newsletters. And again, nowadays, if you can get people's email addresses, it's great. You can then keep them updated via an e-newsletter. Community surveys are good, and these can be done in very cheap ways. You can use Google Forms to set up a community survey for your locality and basically put the question out to communities. You can ask them questions about their energy consumption, how much petrol or diesel they use per year, are they considering energy efficiency upgrades, and or what energy projects would they like to take part in their local community. So they're a useful way of involving people from the start. Then public meetings, we all love a good public meeting. So that enables a large number of people to have their say and provides an open forum for people to receive information and gather feedback. Again, a public meeting will demonstrate that a project has taken into account people's views, and it enables participants to develop networks and discuss ideas with other members of the community. Again, not all public meetings are going to go very smoothly, and you're probably going to open up rifts that already exist in communities, but that rift is going to come about anyway, so you're better off dealing with it early on in the project. Then community mapping. Again, this is an exercise that we use when we go and talk to communities. So when a community joins the SEC network in Ireland, again, it could be an urban town or a small local village, we find out a little bit of information about that. We find out some statistics about it, how many homes and cars there are, their access to public transport, how that town or village has developed over time and the different housing estates that have been built. So we collect all this data, put numbers against it, put their energy consumption costs up there. And it's really amazing to see. Everyone knows how much they spend on gas or electricity or oil every year in their own home, but they wouldn't be aware of how much is spent, in their entire estate or their entire village. So when you bring that information to a first meeting, it really does engage people, because there just isn't a realization about how much is being spent. And then obviously web-based engagement. This goes back to when you're looking for the steering committee members of your local community. It's always a good idea to have someone who's tech savvy, as we call it, that they're able to use social media and possibly build a website. So someone like that is good to have. So just a couple more slides left. This is Mulranny SEC, and they're based in Mayo. Carol Loftus is the name of one of the members, and they've given presentations about how they've engaged their community. So you can see here, I talked about this at the start. You can see the different entities in this community, and this is a small village of, I don't know, maybe 2,000, 3,000 people. And they have different, probably more than that actually, maybe 5,000 in the hinterland. So they have these different entities within the communities, whether it's part of the local sports club, an environmental group, a graveyard committee, a peer group. It's on the coast, so they have a peer group, and they also have a golf club. So they sort of mapped out these different entities, and then obviously they had environment on their mind, and they wanted to do a green plan for the area. And then they would have stumbled across the Sustainable Energy Communities Programme, and now they've developed an energy master plan for the area. So it's just an idea of how a community has sort of leveraged the different groups that are already active in the community, created subgroups, and then led on to completing their energy master plan. And they've got some great examples of how they've engaged the schools in their community. They've had bulb exchanges. If you come along with your old incandescent bulbs, they'll try and get you an LED replacement. And they've had workshops with experts as well to talk people through the different energy efficiency options for your home. Again, this is Søren Hermansen. I'm guessing that most of you know who Søren Hermansen is, because SEAI got him to talk last year at the National Sustainable Energy Communities event, which is held in Ireland. And again, this picture is great. It just shows a bunch of Samso Islanders that, wouldn't have had too much knowledge about energy, a number of years ago, probably 10 years ago at this stage, right through to now they're actually shareholders in a large-scale wind energy development. So it just goes to show you what's possible when you have the right people involved, the right engagement, and obviously the right supports available to you also. This is just a case study of a place in Ireland called Drombane, Upperchurch. It's based in County Tipperary. And it's just an example of how a community sort of took the challenge themselves. So obviously at the time of the recession back in 2007 and 2008, a lot of the people in the community would have emigrated because there was no jobs. And so the local sports club had lost many players because they had to go to Australia or England for work. And so there was a motivation there for the community to say, well, how do we keep people here? Our community is going to die off effectively if people keep moving out. So we need to create jobs locally and try and reverse that immigration trend. So what they did was they figured out, well, why don't we, we're all spending too much money in our homes. Why don't we set about training up people in the community to carry out energy audits and to carry out insulation works and other energy efficiency upgrades. And so we're going to save money in the local economy. We're not going to be spending as much money on oil or gas or electricity. And we're also going to create jobs in the local community. And this entity now actually operates nationwide in Ireland. So it's a really good example of a community acting together and delivering on the climate transition. And again, there's a bit more information about that at the link below. Okay, so that's me. The different references for what I've talked about are there. Again, just finally, these two references here, they're not specifically in relation to community engagement, but they are about how people behave when it comes to energy efficiency. SEAI have spent a lot of money in figuring out, why do people make certain decisions? Why does someone install solar panels instead of installing insulation in their attic, or why do they not make a decision to do something? Is it down to cost? Is it down to knowledge? Is it down to other things? Is it down to misinformation? So oftentimes people want to do something about energy in their community, but they actually don't have the knowledge about different energy subjects. So these two documents here are actually a really clear explainer about different energy upgrade options in the home and why people make decisions. And it's a good starting point for someone. If they want to get the community involved, it's a good starting point for them to understand how people make decisions about energy. If you're interested in something on an individual level within your home, I want to save money in my own home, that's how you start the conversation, and then you can bring that conversation into, well, why don't we think about this as a community? Okay, Brian, that's it. Thanks for listening, everyone, and happy to take questions if you want.
Thank you very much, Steve. Oh God, there's an echo here, so I have for some reason. Not too sure why. But I'll just start recording so people can ask questions as they see fit. So, yeah, stop recording. Any questions there?
Hello. Yes, it's.
Hello. Yes.
It's João Cleto here. Yes, I have two specific questions.